Today I'd like to show you how to make pasticcio. Allow me to introduce you to the ingredients. We have 200 grams of rigatoni pasta, 450 grams, approximately a pound of lamb mince, 1 litre or 4 cups of water, 120 millilitres or half a cup of white wine, 1 onion diced, 200 millilitres or 7 ounces of tomato puree or sauce, 500 millilitres or a pint of milk, 60 millilitres, a quarter cup of olive oil, 60 grams or half a cup of flour, 3 tablespoons of breadcrumbs, half a tablespoon of oregano, half a teaspoon of allspice, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 egg yolks, 2 egg whites, 90 grams or 1 cup of Parmesan cheese, 3 tablespoons of parsley, 50 grams or half a cup of butter, and a quarter of a teaspoon of salt and pepper. So I'd like to introduce you to the equipment. We have 1 strainer for the pasta, 3 large Pyrex bowls, 1 for draining, 1 for meat and 1 for bechamel, 1 springform tin, and 1 sling for the springform tin, which makes it nice and easy to lift in and lift out. We might need some spatulas for stirring and a few other utensils along the way, things like spoons and scoops. We're also going to want a dash of olive oil, just for adding to the pan for the frying. So let's get started. First of all, we have our pressure cooker. We just want to remove the lid. We now want to add the pasta, add a splash of oil, approximately a tablespoon, and some water. It's entirely optional, but you may wish to also add a bit of salt and a dash of pepper. First of all, we need to check to make sure the lid is set to sealed and not vent. When placing our lid into the lock position, we now want to select manual 1 minute and start. The pressure cooker is now up to pressure and the 1 minute countdown has begun. Once the 1 minute countdown finishes, we can instantly depressurize. So the 1 minute countdown is finished. We can now switch off or cancel and depressurize. If you wish to, you can place a tea towel over the vent. Now that the pot is depressurized, we can remove the lid, and using heat-proof gloves and a strainer and maybe a bowl, or you can strain directly into the sink. We want to strain the pasta. Having poured away the water, we can let the pasta simply sit in the bowl. We now want to give the bowl a quick wash. We can now begin doing the meat sauce. So first of all, we want to add the olive oil and press brown saute and start. Now that the oil is over halfway, we want to begin by adding the onions. We now want to add the lamb. And give that a good stir. And giving it the occasional stir, all we have to do now is wait for the lamb to turn brown. At this point, if you wish to, we can add more pepper. Now that the lamb is suitably browned, we can begin making the sauce. So we first of all want to add the white wine, tomato sauce, parsley, Following up with our allspice. And salt and pepper. Now let's give that a good stir. I'll leave that to bubble for a few minutes. After a couple of minutes, we can switch off, cancel saute mode. And at this point, we can add our egg yolk. Now there are two options here. You can either use a second pressure cooker and do the bechamel sauce, or you can pour the sauce into a bowl, give this a wash, and then reuse this for the bechamel sauce. So for the next step, we just want to pour our sauce into a bowl. I'm using a spatula. Gather the remaining ingredients and place this to one side. We can now give our bowl a quick wash. For the bechamel, we just want to brown and saute. And now that the temperature's up to halfway, we can add our milk and the butter. One tip for the butter: if you wish to make it a bit simpler for pouring, you can pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds in a heat-proof bowl, and that will allow it to turn into a liquid which you can then pour straight into your sauces. Once the butter melts and the milk comes up to temperature, we want to add some pepper, approximately a tablespoon. Now for combining the ingredients, if you wish to, you can either use a whisk, a blender, or an ordinary spatula, dependent on your preference. Now that the milk is up to temperature, we can begin by adding the flour and using the blender to combine. Now that we've blended it to a smooth consistency, we can add our egg whites. And once again, give it a mix. We just want to add the cheese. And at this point, we can switch off brown or saute. We can now pour our sauce directly into a bowl. Using a spatula, scraping out the remaining, and give the pan a quick wash. Now if whilst washing you find any difficulty with bits stuck to the pan, you can simply use a wire wool scourer and gently rub with the soapy water, and it should remove any burnt or remains nice and easily. A couple of ladles may come in handy. We can now begin to assemble the dish. So using the pasta, we want the tubes to be facing upright. So now, as you can see, the pan is full with the rigatoni tubes. We have a few to spare, but we can pop those to one side. So for the next step, we want to pour in the meat sauce. And spread that around nice and evenly. And hopefully that should begin to sink into the pasta hollows. What you can do is gently tap the side. sauce should sink into the pasta. We now want to spread the bechamel over the top. It's at this point we want to add our breadcrumbs. If you wish to, you can also add a little bit more cheese. We now want to add 1.5 to 2 cups of water. That's approximately 350 to 400 millilitres. And at this point, we can now add our pasticcio into. And checking the lid is set to locked and not vent. We can lock the lid on and cook on manual mode. For 25 minutes. If you wish to, you can use the turbo option, and that will take that down to 15 minutes. So now that the pot has come up to pressure, the 25-minute countdown has begun. Once the 25-minute countdown is finished, we want to instant pressure release and allow approximately 10 minutes resting so that the cheeses and the sauces can settle. Now that the time is completed, we can instantly depressurise, and if you wish to, place a tea towel over the steam vent. We can now switch off the pressure cooker. Now that the pot's depressurised, we can remove the lid. Using our heat-proof gloves, we can remove the pasticcio. Using the sling, and place onto a plate. We can now lift the pasticcio, checking you have a good grip, and place into the Pyrex baking dish. We now want to give this approximately up to 10 minutes to cool and slightly solidify. And when you're ready, we can simply, using heat-proof gloves, release the springform. The flavours and the creaminess of this are absolutely incredible. The hint of cinnamon, the hint of allspice gives it a whole nother dimension of flavour that's unlike anything I've ever tasted before. The Pastichio Rigatoni, filled with the meat sauce and the cheese and the bechamel, is absolutely incredible. I hope you're enjoying the cooking as much as I'm enjoying the cooking, and I hope you're enjoying the eating as much as I'm enjoying the eating. If you like what you've seen today, please subscribe where you can be up to date with the latest videos as and when they're released. Thanks again, see you in the next one.